Okay, section 3.9, transformations with constructions. Our objective is students will successfully complete transformations and composite transformations using constructions. Okay. So our first construction that we're going to go over is we are going to reflect over a line by using construction. So we are only allowed to use our compass and a straight edge. Okay, so to do this, we are going to do our Skydiver construction. First, you want to start at the point that's closest to the line that we're reflecting over. So we're doing triangle ABC, reflecting it over line M. C is the closest point to line M, so we're going to start with C. And then we're just going to carry through our Skydiver steps. So give C a parachute. Okay. Where the parachute has intersected the ground, here and here, is where you're going to make your X from. Remember, you have not changed the radius. So an X there, and finish the X here. Okay. Our Skydiver now is going to follow that path, so connect C, connect C to that X. Okay. And since he did not make it because his parachute hit the ground, we give him a tombstone. Okay. Now, the big thing about reflection was this had to be the same distance over here. So we need to make sure that C and C prime have the same distance. So we're going to measure C to C prime. Or C, so we can figure out where C prime goes. So when I spin that around, because the manner that we did this construction in, it will always hit our X. So that X will always be our reflected point when we do Skydiver. Okay. And then we're going to repeat that process. B is our next closest point to the line, so do B next. And I always like to use different colors for each point because it makes it easier to see which lines go with which point. So give B a parachute. Now, if your parachute does not hit the ground, remember you can always extend the ground longer so that your parachute and ground do intersect, because we need that intersection point. We're going to go from where the parachute hits the ground, so these two positions, and we're going to make our X. We have not changed our radius. So from here, we're going to make half our X, and from up here, we're going to make our other half of our X. Okay. Connect B to that X. Give him a tombstone. And that point will now be B prime. Okay. Repeat that for a third time with point A. So give point A a parachute. Now, you don't want to go too crazy and get all down here in the second problem's area. So just don't make your parachute ginormous. And again, if you need to extend, go ahead and extend so that your parachute and ground intersect. So from here and from here, you're going to make your X. Do not change your radius. And see how all of those lines are kind of intersecting, or those arcs are all kind of all ending up in the same spot. That doesn't always happen, but again, this is why I like to use different colors so you can see exactly where each one is, so you don't get confused by which one's which. Especially if you're using pencil, that gets really confusing. Okay. So we connect A to our X, give it a tombstone, and then this is A prime. And our last thing is we started with a triangle, so we have to end with a triangle, so we connect our A prime, B prime, and C prime to form our triangle. Okay. And then I always ask that you highlight your final answer or color it in real lightly with a pencil or something, because there are marks all over your paper and we want to be able to make sure we see your final answer. Okay. So again, the important construction for reflecting over a line is going to be our skydiver construction. Now let's translate, and translate means slide. So we're going to have two important constructions. We're going to have our parallel lines construction, which is our misfire cannon. So that's the construction. And then we're going to have copy a segment. Okay. So first we're going to do our parallel lines. So we're going to take our point that's closest to this. This line is a vector. And a vector means we are going to slide it in this direction by that amount. So our formal definition of a vector is a quantity with direction and magnitude. Okay, so now we're going to do our parallel lines construction. We're going to leave off some of the parallel line marks because otherwise our picture ends up getting really, really messy. So it is formally the parallel lines construction that I taught you in the past, just without a few of the markings that we've used. Okay, first step, you're going to connect B to the end of the vector. Okay. Then you are going to take and put your compass here at this intersection and your pencil on B so that you're measuring that segment that you just made. Okay. We're going to make our cannon. So there's our arc. Okay. And now we need to fire the cannon. So from B and from this intersection point, without changing the radius, we're going to go ahead and make an X. So that is where we've aimed our cannon. We're now going to connect B to that X. So this parallel line is now the direction that B is going to slide in. So what it's going to look like as we do this translate is B will slide along that parallel line. Now the problem is we don't know how far B ends up sliding. Okay? And that's where our copy a segment comes in. Okay, so we have completed the part of the parallel lines construction that we're going to use, and we're going to move on to the copy a segment of this. So we're going to copy the length of our vector, because our vector gives us the length we want to slide, or in other words, the magnitude. So we're going to take that length, we measured it, we're going to go down to point B, and we're going to chop off our parallel line. So where we just chopped off that parallel line, that is going to be B prime. And now we repeat that for the other 2 points. So for C, C is the next closest to our vector, so we're going to do that point next. Connect C to the end of your vector. Okay. Measure that connection with the compass. So pencil or point on end of vector, pencil on C, make an arc through C. It intersects the vector. Do not change the radius. Go from C and from this intersection point, and you're going to make your X. Okay. Connect C to your X. So there's our parallel line again. We now need to chop that parallel line off. So we're going to measure the length of our vector. Come down to C and chop our parallel line off. So that point will be C prime. Repeat that process for A. So connect A to end of the vector. Okay. Put your compass on the end of the vector. Measure out to A. Make an arc. Now, our arc did not intersect the vector. So what we're going to do is we're going to make our vector longer. But when we go to copy our vector, we're not going to include this extended part. So from here and here, we're going to make our X without changing the radius of the vector, or the radius of the compass, sorry. My compass keeps getting stuck. There we go. Oh, not quite an X, so let me go back and do this side. There we go. Okay, connect A to your X. So there's our parallel line. We now need to measure our vector. Again, we're not measuring that extended part. We're just measuring to the end of our vector. Coming down to A to chop off our parallel line. So that point will be A prime. And we started with a triangle, so we end with a triangle. So we now need to connect A prime, B prime, and C prime. And then in the end, we will highlight our answer. Or you can shade it in lightly with your pencil.